Readers Entertainment Radio presents Booklights with your host, author Lisa Kessler. Booklights, where we're shining a light on good books.
Hello, everyone. It is our final Booklights episode of this year's spooky season of 2025, and it has been a great one. So if you've missed any episodes, be sure to go back and check them out. We have had fantastic authors, lots of spooky stories, and it's a great time to catch up on missed podcasts. Today, we have on Lisa Morton, who has become a spooky season tradition on Booklights. I'm so excited she could come back because this is her busy season. And if you have never read her stories or listened to her podcasts or read her nonfiction books about Halloween, I will introduce her here and read her bio so you can get to know her. Lisa Morton is a screenwriter, author of nonfiction books, and a prose writer whose work was described by the American Library Association Reader's Advisory Guide to Horror as consistently dark, unsettling, and frightening. She is the author of 4 novels and 200 short stories and is a world-class Halloween and paranormal expert. Her awards include the Bram Stoker Award, the Rondo Hatton Award, and the Black Quill Award. Her latest releases include Calling in the Spirits, A History of Seances, The Art of the Zombie Movie, and recent short stories appeared in Best American Mystery Stories, Final Cut's New Hollywood Tales. We're also going to be chatting with her about Scaring and Daring today. And she has appeared on popular podcasts and shows such as Shock Doc's Coast to Coast, NPR's Throughline, and CNN's Margin of Error. She is also the host of a weekly Ghost Report podcast, which I went and listened to a couple episodes this morning and shared some. It's definitely worth listening. And you can find out all about her and her podcast and her books and stories at lisamorton.com. I've included a link to her website right there in the show notes, so feel free to click that and get connected. All right. Are you there, Lisa?
I am.
Yay! Happy Halloween!
And to you as well. And thank you for that fabulous introduction. Now I have to try to live up to it.
I know, right? People always read those and I think, dang, I did all those things. But I'm so excited that you're here, not only because it's almost the big day, but you have a few spooky stories out this season that people should read. Because when I went spelunking, I saw Scaring and Daring. You have a short story in there with like big heavy hitters. I wrote down Joe R. Lansdale and Sherilyn Kenyon and Jonathan Mayberry. Do you want to tell everybody about your story in there and why they might want to read that for spooky season?
Yeah, definitely. This is an awesome anthology. It was an official publication of the Horror Writers Association, and it is a middle grade book. So it's intended for younger readers, but I think people of all ages will get a kick out of it. I know I've been enjoying the heck out of reading some of the other stories in here. And the idea was that you took a classic work of literature and you did a spin on it that brought it into something middle grade readers would enjoy and made it a little bit scary. Joe Lansdale, for example, did a really fun take on Huckleberry Finn, in which Huck and Jim end up in a weird, like, prehistoric world then they're in an alien ship, and it's wild. It's really fun.
Wow.
Like great Joe Lansdale stuff. And
Right.
where he took off on Journey to the Center of the Earth, which was my favorite book and movie when I was a kid. And when I was invited to contribute to this book, the first thing I said was, I'm doing Journey to the Center of the Earth. So mine follows the professor back into the underground part of the Earth, where he encounters a very nasty race of intelligent dinosaurs.
Ooh. That's what's hiding under Mount Etna?
Yes, indeed. And the story is called What We Found Beneath Mount Etna, and it was really, really fun to write. I kind of love doing middle grade writing, and it's I have in fact, I think two of my last three releases were middle grade stories. There's also a book
Wow.
called Scary Stories to Tell at Night that just came out, and I have a story in that called Trick or Retreat, which is a everything goes terribly wrong on Halloween night kind of story. And that was fun to write. So it's definitely something I'm thinking maybe I need to look into this a little more.
Right. Well, I remember when my kids were growing up, it was Goosebumps. And I remember reading a couple of those and going, dang, these are really scary. Scarecrows that move up and scratch on your window. I'm like, ah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the Goosebumps stuff is classic now, and it's just a fun time. It's fun because you get to write without like almost in a more freeing way. It's almost like you don't have to worry about any adult constraints. You can go really out there and so yeah, I don't know. I'm halfway to considering doing like a middle grade book on my own.
Oh, fun. Wow. Well, and I think too that writing for a younger audience, as far as spooky goes, takes care of a lot of the issues like, cell phones and people checking their Facebook and all that. You can really go back into your imagination, bring your inner child some joy.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, you also have stories in Horror Zine this year and Weird Fiction. Do you want to tell people kind of about, a little about those?
Those are two, well, the Horzine is actually mainly an online publication, and I have kind of a tradition going with them now, where every year I give them a Halloween story.
Ah,
Um, I enjoy doing that. And Weird Fiction Quarterly is the other thing. It's a really interesting thing where every story in this journal is exactly 500 words.
wow. Oh, I love that. I love that. I once had a short story in an anthology that came out on Friday the 13th, and it was 13 deaths in 250 words or less. It was so much fun. Everyone was a flash story with a murder. And I find flash fiction just, it's addictive to write, to cut and cut to get it just to the right amount.
Yeah, it's really fun. And you do end up losing an awful lot of those adjectives.
Yes, yes. Your verbs become adjectives.
Right,
They do double duty.
definitely.
Well, what are you working on next? What are you up to?
Right now, just trying to get through the Halloween season, which is my busiest one of the year. This morning I had to bump our time back a little bit because another event I had this morning ended up being pushed back a little bit. That was fun. I got to chat with the former governor, John Kasich, who was someone who's
Wow.
always, yeah, that was interesting. And I've got NPR coming up this week and just all kinds of stuff. So, once this season is over in another week, I plan on getting back to the nonfiction book I have been working on. I have a book coming out in 2027 that will be called My Name is Legion: The Strange and
Ooh.
Terrifying History of Demonic Possession.
Oh,
It's
I love
another,
it.
yeah, another nonfiction paranormal book. And I had gotten pretty good into the research before this Halloween craziness settled in. And it is absolutely fascinating. And I'm finding out things that I think will astonish people. And some of them are absolutely hilarious. I mean, you're reading. My favorite story so far was one that I think is from like the third century AD, and it's about a woman who is convinced her 16-year-old son is possessed by a demon. And so she goes to this local sage, and the sage says, well, how long has this been going on? And she says, well, it started when he was 14, 2 years ago. And the sage says, why do you think he's possessed? And she says, well, his voice is deepened. He doesn't obey me. He goes
Oh
out for
no.
long walks by himself. And you're just reading this and going, oh,
It's
hon,
it's puberty.
it's puberty. And this sage ends up saying, well, bring him to see me. And she says, well, I can't. He won't obey me. And so the sage is, all right, I'm going to give you this letter, and I want you to have the demon read this letter. The letter ends up being threats. So you can imagine the letter must have been full of things like, hey, you little creep. Obey your mother, for crying out loud. And
Right, right. Oh my gosh, is it a demon or is it puberty?
yeah, there are some really, and what the other thing that struck me about that story is how timely it. I mean, it felt like it. I could have read this in some newspaper yesterday, or read it online somewhere or something, and you would still, of course, roll your eyes and go, "Oh no!" But it was universal. It was timeless, and it's one of the things that's fascinating to me about finding these stories that are almost 2,000 years old.
Right. And how much we haven't changed.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
It's funny. Earlier this month, we had on Jeffrey, what was his last name? I can't remember off the top of my head, but he has a new cryptid book out about it's hunting monsters across North America or something, or the Northern Hemisphere. And we were talking about these different monsters from different cultures and things. And I was, of course, intrigued by the Greenland monster. But anyway, the interesting thing was that we were talking about is that these stories are so old. They are before telephones or any way that these different cultures could have communicated, yet they have the same monsters. We're like, maybe they're real. They all come from a core, needing to explain something. So anyway, it's very interesting that you have that same experience. Nothing changes.
Right. Yeah. And, I found out a little bit along the same lines of stuff when I was researching the Seance book. And you would find that there have been people trying to defraud other people into believing in the fake existence of things for, all the way back to the beginning of recorded history. And it is so true that some things, for better or worse, never seem to change.
Right, right. Yeah, there will always be grifters.
Right. Yeah.
And monsters, apparently.
Yes.
Well, I wanted to ask you about writing because lots of our listeners are readers. But when you started out on your writing journey, were you always focused on Halloween or did you start writing something else? How did it all come together for you?
Well, I always loved Halloween and I always loved horror. I always say I was that weird little girl wanted to be a monster instead of a princess at Halloween. And my parents were thankfully, I don't know, amused or indulgent or something.
At
But
least tolerated it.
yeah, right. Well, they actually really liked it. My mother and I would stay up late watching horror movies, and my dad and I would build little monster toys and things like that.
Oh,
So
fun.
yeah, we all kind of enjoyed it, and but in terms of writing about it, I kind of fell into Halloween by accident. About 20 years ago, I had done a film book with a publisher, and when that book was done, they said, "Hey, this was good. Would you like to do another book with us?" And I looked at things they were publishing at the time, and they had just brought out a book called The Christmas Encyclopedia.
Oh,
So just almost on a whim, I said, "Hey, how about the Halloween encyclopedia?" And I put together a brief proposal and they went for it. And then, as I'm always noting, by the time you have put several years into amassing information for an encyclopedia, you have
right.
an awful lot of stuff you can keep rolling over into other books. So it's just kind of kept going from there. And of course, you also end up being obsessed with it. And it's so fun to follow every year because it is a holiday that seems to be in a constant state of evolution to me. And
Yes.
I love watching how it's changing and growing and spreading every year.
I had an interesting conversation with someone recently because they told me I see more houses decorated for Halloween than I do for Christmas now. What is happening? And it was interesting to think about because as we talked about it, I said, I think it's because anyone can celebrate Halloween. It's not attached to a religion, so to speak. And so you don't have to worry about offending or excluding anyone. Everyone is included in Halloween. And I think that that is a really fun thing about how Halloween is evolving, is that everyone's included, you
That's a
know?
really good point. Yeah, I like that very much. And I also think it is less stressful than other
Yes,
holidays. I mean, it doesn't involve the massive crowds and having to figure out gifts and all that that Christmas does, or even the sort of having to prepare all the food and assemble the dinner guest and all that of Thanksgiving. And it's a creative holiday that does involve some preparation, but it's really fun preparation. It's like, oh, what character am I gonna dress up as? Or oh, what am I gonna do with my yard that'll be really fun that the kids will love? And so it seems like a sort of more ironically joyful holiday.
right, right. Well, and I also think too that it's interesting that you can be as spooky as you want and you're not judged. You can be fun spooky or cute spooky or terrifying spooky, or, everyone is embraced. So I love that Halloween is so inclusive. When I do my annual Halloween movie countdown, I always try to include, a kid movie, a musical, and you can't always do that, with all the holidays. Halloween seems to be that there's so many flavors of spooky that there's something for everyone.
Yeah, and I think spooky is becoming more important to us as a culture overall.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we live in obviously very fearful times.
We
We're
do.
going into a very possibly dark future. And so the idea that we have this holiday where it's like you're living in a horror movie or a haunted attraction, but it's a playful, whimsical kind of sense where you can go through a haunted house and you end up coming out on the other end and maybe you screamed and got a little scared in there, but you also come out on the other end maybe
Exactly.
laughing, and you may feel kind of, wow, hey, I got through that and I made it and I survived, and that makes me feel really good. My heart is still pounding, but I'm alive, and.
Right, right. Well, and I think horror as a literature genre gives you the ability to experience something really potentially really scary, but you're in a safe environment. I think that that is pretty cool too.
Yeah, definitely. And or it can, in its best examples, could make people think too.
Mhm.
I have a story that is out in a new book called New Writings in Horror and the Supernatural, Volume 3. And my story is about my own experiences becoming the caregiver to a parent with dementia. And
Mm.
I've been seeing a few reviews of this story that have said, "Wow, this really disturbed me. I've been through this. It spoke to my own experience, and being disturbed in that way, I think, is not necessarily a bad thing because it does get people thinking a little bit more about their own experience."
Right, right. There was a Netflix movie, I think, about the taking of Deborah Logan or something like
Right,
that. Did you see
sure.
that?
I
Where I
did.
I was like, wow, is it dementia or demon possession? you know, but
Yeah,
it
that one was pretty good. That was a found footage movie, and it was well
right.
done. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but it did give you a different framework to look at things and go, huh, what is going on there? But yeah, I think it gives you a great way, and sci-fi can do that too, of looking at, real situations that you may be experiencing now, but looking at it from a whole different perspective safely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I love when you read horror and you start to go, who is the real monster?
All
Is it
right.
us? Are
Well, I,
we the
I know
monsters?
when I was a kid, one of the reasons I loved the Universal horror movies was I think I identified more with the monsters. I mean, I was definitely a weird sort of outsider kid, and um you look at something like Frankenstein's monster and you're like, well, wait, he's just trying to get through the world and they
I
keep
know.
coming after him with their torches. Just leave him alone, you know?
He just wants a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Yeah. And I think that you can learn a lot when you're reading a really good horror story about acceptance and all that, because the villain is always the hero of their own story, and they're usually trying to do something that they believe will be good.
I'm not always a huge believer in that theory though. I
Mhm.
mean, I think we are seeing a lot of people in real life who have no illusions
Oh, that
about
is
doing
true.
anything good. So
Yeah. Well, it's good for them though. They're the hero of their own story.
maybe I think some of them are even aware that they are not the hero and they just don't care. That's,
They just don't
that's the
care.
difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm Yeah, that brings us back to who is the
Right.
monster?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. Well, it's because it's spooky season. I always ask people favorite spooky movies because I like to add them to my list. But what are you watching this season? What have you been enjoying?
I was out with some horror writing friends last night, and I was astonished that I was the only one at the table who had seen my two favorite things in terms of recent horror releases. One is a series, one is a movie, and very few people seem to know about these. Even the horror writers didn't know. One is called Hellbender. That's the movie. That's from a few years ago. It is streaming on Shudder and maybe on Prime Video. I'm not sure, but it's absolutely fantastic. It's an independent film made by a family named Adams. Yes, they are the Adams family. Mother, father, two daughters. They all do the same. They all direct, they all act, they
Wow.
shoot. Their movies are incredible. They've made, I think, 9 movies now. And
Wow.
Hellbender is my favorite. It's a story about a mother who is living kind of isolated in the wilderness with her daughter. She has told her daughter that she has terrible illness and can't go near other people, but you find out that there is a much deeper, more disturbing truth behind that. So it's almost a two-person thing with this mother and this daughter
Wow.
and their relationship, and I just love that movie. Um, and then the series that no one seems to have seen is buried in the bowels of Netflix, and it's called Marianne. Um,
Oh.
it is French. It is, I think, 8 episodes. I have watched it about 4 times now. It's incredible. It's one of those things that when my horror writer friends see it, they all become obsessed with it. They all think it's like the greatest thing they've ever seen. It is really amazing and intense. And the leading character in it is a young female horror writer, which certainly explains part of my attraction to it.
Right.
But and it's just great. It starts as a thing about this writer who has created this witch called Marianne, who may or may not be a real character, and she has to go back to the town where she grew up for some personal reasons and ends up discovering more about her own background. And it goes by the end into full cosmic horror, which is
Oh.
very unusual, and it does it better than anything I've ever seen. And it is really disturbing and scary and just great.
Ooh, okay. I'm totally looking that one up. Um, have you seen it on Netflix? I think it's Archive 81 or something. It's a
I had,
series, the limited
yeah, a few years
series.
ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that one. So anyway, I rewatched it recently and went, yeah, that is good. It has it managed to, because it was a series instead of a movie, it could have the cult vibe and the time travel vibe and
Yeah.
the weird haunted place vibe and the thing coming through the tapes. I'm like, dang, but you can do that with a series, where you're
Right.
not limited by that movie. Um, all right. Well, I wanted to, before we run out of time, talk about your podcast because it's fantastic. You want to tell people about Ghost Report?
Yeah, I do a weekly podcast called Ghost Report. These are very short little pieces. They run usually around 3, 4 minutes. And I just talk about something every week related to the paranormal. It might be a haunted place, it might be an old story from the 19th or even 18th century. It might be something very modern. I've recently been doing a few on Halloween misconceptions or my 5 favorite Halloween books or movies. And my podcast producer has recently taken to actually making little videos out of these, and they're great fun to
Wow.
watch. Yeah, you can find those on YouTube. I think they are all under Mystery Control, which is the name of the my producer's company. And so those are he is really clever with his editing, and he'll show me these finished videos and I'm just laughing my head off at them. Sometimes the way he juxtaposes certain images is great. So yeah, and we are in, I think, our 6th year of doing these, and around number 350, something like that.
Wow, congratulations. That's a
Yeah,
milestone.
thanks.
That's good.
Yeah, they're really fun to do, and I love doing a little bit of research for each one. It sometimes it paves the way for me to write about something even further. And I do have a Substack where for my paid subscribers, they will get much longer articles on some of these things, and I am hoping to collect those into a book someday.
Oh, that's cool. How do people find your Substack? Is that on your website or how can they
It's on
find
my
it?
website, or you can go right to lisamorton.substack.com.
Oh, okay, great. So everyone definitely check that out. And before we run out of time, what are you dressing up as? What's your favorite Halloween costume?
Okay, this is really shocking. It's funny, I answered this question yesterday with some of my friends. I don't like to dress up.
Oh, what?
I know, it's horrible. I'm not a costume person, but
Oh,
I
okay.
love to do my own little yard haunt. And we've been doing it for about 10 years. And this is the first year that we finally kind of bit the bullet and put ourselves on the Southern California haunt list.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've held off from doing that in the past because I thought, oh, we're not big enough. Well, over the last few years, we would go look at some of the other ones, and we were finally like, heck yeah, we're big enough. Let's do it. So
Yay.
this year we are on the hot list. We're hoping that means a few more people will find us. We are called the Septo Cemetery if you're in the Southern California area, and you can find us on the SoCal hot list and come by. We're going to run October 29th, 30th, obviously the 31st, and the 1st on Saturday. So
Amazing.
got 4 nights to come on down, and it's very family friendly. We don't do gore, we don't do people jumping out at you, but we have some really cool effects this year that I think are going to have people going, how'd they do that?
Ah, I love it. And I thought I saw somewhere, are you reporting live on Halloween from your haunt?
I am. We're going to try and live stream through YouTube. YouTube's making me jump through hoops to do that right now, so we don't have the address yet, but I'm hoping to have that all set up by later tomorrow, and I will post about that everywhere, and hopefully people can join us.
Yay. So then, even if you're not in SoCal, you can check out the haunting.
Yes, and I will also, if people want to chat about Halloween history, ask questions, paranormal stuff, whatever, I will be happy to answer that while I am hopefully frightening a few kids and passing out some candy.
Sweet. All right. Wow. That sounds like a super happy Halloween to me. I hope that it is a huge success. Will you post pictures and stuff afterwards?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, we love
Yay.
we have a few little galleries from the past, and yeah, it's something we just love to do every year.
Fun. And do those go up on your website? Do you have a blog? How do people find it?
We actually have a little tiny website for the haunt.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a little bit hard to get to. Somehow the address got kind of convoluted, but they can get to it through lisamorton.com. And I also have like Flickr albums, and I'm posting a lot on Instagram. Also, one of the things I've been posting for the last few weeks is a series of little videos called Halloween History 101.
Oh,
So if anyone wants to learn more about Halloween history, these are little 2-3 minute videos where I pull an object from my collection of Halloween material and I talk about its history.
fun. Is that on your YouTube channel?
You can get to those pretty much anywhere. YouTube, Substack, Facebook, Instagram. I've got them everywhere.
Okay, yay. Well, everyone, be sure to check those out. And if you're looking for some great Halloween stories to, especially for younger readers, check out Scaring and Daring. And thanks so much for being here, Lisa. It was so fun talking Halloween with you.
Oh, thanks for inviting me, Lisa. Yeah, I look forward to doing this every year.
Yeah, well, I hope that Halloween is a big success and we'll talk to you next year.
Excellent. I love that plan. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Thanks for joining us on Booklights. Be sure to connect with us at www.readersentertainment.com for articles, blogs, videos, and podcasts that matter to readers.